Hi, and welcome. I'm Natalie McKnight. I'm the Interim Dean of the College of General Studies, and I'm just going to talk today about how we use ePortfolios to assess the impact of our program at the College of General Studies. I welcome questions, comments throughout, but there will also be Q&A time at the end, so just feel free to interject any comments as we go along. But I wanted to get a sense of my audience at first. I know some of you, I don't know all of you. And so my main question to you would be, are you allergic to ePortfolios? I ask semi-seriously because I've met a lot of people at BU who do seem to almost break out in hives when you say ePortfolio. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe there's some technophobia there. I think some people have been introduced to ePortfolio as a great way to radically revolutionize their teaching, and surprise, surprise, not everybody wants to radically revolutionize their teaching. I'm not here to talk about doing that kind of revolutionary approach to teaching. I'm just talking about how you could use it as an effective tool, and that's how we see it at CGS. It's just a good tool. I mean, to hate ePortfolio is like saying you hate a flash drive. You know, well, what's to hate in a flash drive? It's just a nice tool, which I use today to bring this presentation here, and I see ePortfolios in the same way. So I don't see them as threatening at all. And so just to kind of get a general context, our students use ePortfolios to archive all the major work they do in our program for every single course. We also suggest that they archive work they do in their electives, their abroad experiences, co-curricular activities, reflections on their advising, et cetera, et cetera. We can't hold them to those other things, but we can hold them to archiving their major work in their courses with us. It's a great tool for them to organize this material, and then they can access it from anywhere on the planet because it's just a website. So if they have all of their academic work on one website that you can get to anywhere, that is very useful for them to work off campus or to work abroad or wherever they're working. It's also a great tool for them because if they store all of their academic work on one website, then when they're applying for internships or graduate programs or jobs later on, they can cull all the best work out of that one portfolio for a nice showcase portfolio that they can put a link to on their CV or resume, and then they can really show what they've done in 4 years, which I think is very helpful to them. So it's a very useful tool for them. It's a very useful tool for our faculty, too, because it gives you a chance when you're looking at a student to see their work over the course of a semester. Now, of course, a paper portfolio can do that, too, but if you have 80 students, 80 paper portfolios for a course that runs for a whole year, it's a cumbersome thing. But a website, much less so. So it's nice for that. It's also nice for giving a window into an individual's participation in a group project. And we do a lot of group projects at CGS, and I know SMG does as well. And one of the problems we've always had, like in our capstone project, which I'll talk about in a minute, is trying to assess what an individual's contribution was to the group project. So our capstone, which comes at the end of their sophomore year, is a 50-page research project with 5 or 6 people on each project. And we give them 1 grade for the whole project, but then an individual grade. And that individual grade has always been problematic. Students grade each other, but there can be, vendettas in that. And we get a sense of the individual's progress in the project from meeting with them throughout the project. But that's also kind of a dicey way of assessing their individual work. The ePortfolio, if you ask them to weekly put something on it related to this ongoing project, you can just check in. If you have any concern about whether they're doing the work, you check in, you see if they're doing it, and if there's nothing there, then you know you really do have a problem and you can intervene. But what I'm going to talk to today, I just wanted to give you general context of how we're using it, is just how we use it to look at the work our students do over their 4 semesters with us, all the major work in all of their courses, and we can look at every semester and see, can we discern any progress in various competency areas. So as I mentioned, we have students post sections for advising, interdisciplinary reflections, capstone, abroad experiences, co-curriculars, and we have 1,100 students. So we have a lot of portfolios to look at, and this is one of them. Naomi Velasquez was a sophomore in our program last spring. So she finished last spring, and she's now at CAS in political science and history. And so here's the home page of her ePortfolio. And she has a nice little statement about herself and her interests and what she hopes to major in. And then on top, and I don't think I have a pointer, or maybe this is, well, I don't know, I'm going to try that. Along top here, you can see these different courses named. And each one of these is a different section in ePortfolio. So she has every single one of her freshman courses along the bottom here. Those would be the 100 courses, Rhetoric 102, Rhetoric 101, Social Science 102, 101, et cetera. This middle line here are some of her sophomore courses, 200-level courses, and her capstone project, and some of her courses at CAS. She has American politics here. She has her U.S. history here, comparative politics. So she really was archiving material for her electives as well, which is great to see. So that's basically just like a table of contents along the top there. And if you click on any one of those sections, let's say Humanities 101, you get to another page. And on the Humanities 101 page, you could see along the left here is another brief table of contents. This shows where some of her major papers are. So if you clicked on mythology and religion paper, that's what you would get to. It'd be a longer paper, as would the close reading paper. And it's those longer artifacts that we tend to focus most closely on when we're assessing the students' work, because there's some more material there. They often have to incorporate outside sources. It's an argument. They have to support it. But a side benefit to the ePortfolio is that you can also get these short reading reflections. And so she has one for every week of the semester in Humanities 101. And you see she has a reading reflection on the Iliad. And it's actually kind of nice little reflection on Homer's use of foils in the Iliad. And then a reflection on Chaplin's The Kid. Don't ask me to explain how The Kid and the Iliad came up in the same week. I didn't teach that course. I'm sure it's wonderful, but I'm not quite sure what the connection was. So at any rate, the great thing is, as a teacher, I always had my students do this too. And if you have 80 students, you can't read all of them before class. But before class, you can read 2 or 3. And you can go into the class and say, oh, I love that comment you made in your reflection. And use the students' own thoughts to open up a good discussion that's connected to what they're already thinking about. It's also a great way to get students to participate in the discussion who don't naturally speak up. So you have somebody in the back who never says anything. You can say, oh, great comment you made, and kind of lead them into the discussion that way. It's also a fantastic study tool. So she's got a reflection for everything she read or saw over the course of the semester. So when she's studying for an exam, she's got the notes from the class, but she can go back over these, refresh her memory about what she thought when she was reading them, and she very nicely inserted a visual for each of these postings, which is just a great trigger for the memory. So if she's writing an essay exam, she can't quite remember, what was I said about the Iliad? She'll probably get the picture in her head, and the picture will probably drag with it some of the text she wrote about it too. So it's a great tool for them, and then we have the major artifacts there to look at. Here's her natural science course, Natural Science 201. You could see she has labs 2, 4, and 6, and 8. Maybe they don't do odd number labs, I don't know. But they're all excellent postings. They all have a great narrative about what the lab contained, and then an analysis of what she found, and then nice visuals, graphs, charts, etc. So this is a good representation of what she learned in natural sciences. So what we do is we take these major artifacts, lab reports, major papers, problem sets, and we use a rubric, which I think everyone got a copy of. Yeah, and is up here too. And this is a rubric that is based on AAC&U models. So the AAC&U, American Association of Colleges and Universities, has a series of value rubrics that they have composed with input from professors all over the country. And this was the one that we thought best fit our program, but then we tweaked it. So we found one that seemed to be good for a general education program such as ours. And then we put together a committee with representatives from every division in our college to take this basic rubric, which has buy-in across the country, and tweak it to better fit our program, and then to come up with very specific language to describe each level. So along the left, vertical axis here, you'll see the outcomes of our program. We are hoping to develop written and oral communication, skills in gathering, analyzing, and documenting information, awareness of specific historical, literary, and cultural contexts, understanding of rhetorical and aesthetic conventions, critical thinking and perspective-taking skills, integrative and applied learning skills, and then quantitative methods, which we're probably going to change to quantitative reasoning. We haven't made any change in the rubric in 3 years. That's why we still say draft, but I think we're getting ready to revise it a bit. For each of those outcomes areas, which are the goals of our program, you have 4 different levels of competency, everything from no mastery to excellent or mastery. And those 4 levels kind of track pretty nicely with our own grading system, from a grade D maybe up to a grade A. So it's not that foreign to get used to deciding whether somebody's a level 2 competency in written communication or a level 3. That's the kind of thing we do all the time when we grade. At the risk of being a little bit laborious here, I just want to read through one of these lines, and I'll read through the top line with you so that you can see how nuanced the language is in talking about each level of competency. And this is where we spend most of our time as we assess student work. We'll come in and somebody will say, I think she's at a level 2 in her first semester. And somebody else will say, I think it's a 2.5. And we'll say, well, let's read the language here. Or somebody else will say 3. That would be more likely. And then we'll read the language here. So for written and oral communication, no mastery would be a student who attempts to use a consistent system for basic organization and presentation, uses language that sometimes impedes meaning or clarity, and contains errors in usage. It's really problematic writing. We don't see a lot of these, but we do see some. I'm sure you see some too. Level 2 is developing, follows expectations appropriate to a specific discipline and or writing task for basic organization, content, and presentation, uses language that generally conveys meaning, although there may be problems with clarity and the writing may include some errors. Most of our students start at around a 2. They're conveying meaning, they're developing an idea, but there's some errors, and their use of language is not exactly graceful. Level 3 is competent, demonstrates consistent use of important conventions, particular to a specific discipline and a writing task, uses straightforward language that generally conveys meaning to readers. The language in the portfolio has few errors. This is what you would give to somebody who's actually doing a very good job. Not many errors at all. And maybe the only problem is that the sophistication of the sentence structure or diction is not quite what you would want. And then level 4 is excellent, demonstrates detailed attention to and successful execution of a wide range of conventions particular to a specific discipline and or writing task, including organization, content, presentation, formatting, and stylistic choices, uses graceful language that skillfully communicates meaning to reader with clarity and fluency, and is virtually error-free. We don't see many of those either. I don't see much error-free writing, but we do get some. So, what happens is what we do in our assessment committee, which is formed of 10 to 12 faculty members from every different division. We spend an entire year meeting once a month. We will have randomly selected 1 or 2 portfolios to look at a month. We will have independently used this assessment score sheet to discern where we think this particular student for this month is in terms of written and oral communication, term 1, or quantitative methods / reading, term 1. And where are they term 2? Where are they term 3? And what you're looking for here is an average. So you look at several artifacts each term, which is easy for us because our courses are taught by term. So Rhetoric 101, that's a fall semester class. Rhetoric 102, that's a spring semester class. So that's very easy for us to tell. And we do this straight through, and then we put plus or minus change. Now, lest you think we would be prejudiced in favor of seeing change, which of course you would think we would be, we always have come across portfolios where you see no change at all. It's depressing, but it's true. So we in general do see change, but we see portfolios you go through 4 semesters and they are about the same at the end as they were at the beginning. And that's a good thing because we all have seen that at least a few times. It means we're not just seeing positive change because we want to see positive change. If there's no change, we see there's no change and we agree on it. And if there's change, we see that too. We have occasionally also seen students go down. And we particularly see this between term 2 and term 3 because that's between the end of their freshman year and the beginning of their sophomore year. And there's just a lot of data and skills dumping that goes on in the summer. And so they come back for that term 3, and sometimes they are not doing as well as they were at the end of term 2. So we will see a decline occasionally. We'll see no change. But on the whole, we tend to see a lot of change. So we'll look at something like Naomi's lab reports and Naomi's research paper. And what happened in our very first meeting of doing this, when we first started putting together an assessment committee, we'd all looked at 2 ePortfolios. We'd all filled out one of these assessment score sheets. We came in, and we weren't off by more than 0.5 on any single score. And that's because we're an interdisciplinary program. We team teach. We do joint papers all the time. Joint interdisciplinary projects, capstone together. We are used to grading together. So we were very nicely normed from the beginning, but we didn't want to just rest on our laurels there, so we spent an entire year anyway norming our results even more and establishing inter-rater reliability. I think in another program it might take a little bit longer to get to that level of norming, but it's not impossible. And as I said before, where we would spend most of the time is if there was a difference between is this 2, is this 3, you go back to the detailed language. And it really does help you discern, is she really at that competent level? Is she really almost error-free, using language pretty skillfully, really making a point, backing it up, or is she pretty much doing that, but not at the most sophisticated level? So we return to that language all the time. And then after a year of doing that, once a month, this is a committee assignment, for the last 2 years, we did this then on our own in the summer. We would each be assigned 10 student ePortfolios because we felt like 100, so we have 10 of us, 10 portfolios, about 100. 100 we felt was a statistically significant sampling of 500 students. It's actually maybe even a little more than you'd need. So we would do 100 ePortfolios, 10 each over the summer on our own after having normed our rating. And then we plug all of our own individual scores from this sheet into a FileMaker database, which then computes things like averages, standard deviations. And the standard deviations here by 0.5, 0.6 on these scores. That'll come up in another chart. And what we found in 2012 was that our students tend to start at the low end of the 2, the developing area, which is hardly surprising, and end at the upper end of the 2, bordering on 3, which is competent. That doesn't sound like a very big change, but at the 27, 29, 27, 22, 25, 30% change over 4 semesters. That seemed pretty good. I wanted to do better, but I thought that was pretty good. Sorry, wrong way. And this is just the same data with blue and purple. But then we went and did the same thing the next year. We went back and spent a year norming things, or norming our results and establishing inter-rater reliability. And then we spent another summer doing 10 each. Thanks to a grant from the Davis Educational Foundation, by the way. We had stipends to pay people to do this because I don't think anyone would do it out of the goodness of their heart. It is laborious. That's the downside of it, but it's nuanced. It's laborious, and you're looking at the student's own work. You're not looking at what somebody else thinks your students should have learned in your program. Yeah, no, please. No, I wrote the grant as $150,000, paying faculty $5,000 to do 10 portfolios. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, was that 2 weeks' work, do you think?
I mean, it's a week. You get paid $5,000, and then we've had about $11,000 each year for travel to conferences where we've been presenting this. So it's laborious to go through one student's work for 4 semesters and then to do it 10 times. Is it your whole summer? No, not even close, not even close. And it's nice to make an extra $5,000. It's about what you would make, maybe a little less from teaching a course, and I think teaching a course would be a lot more work. So these are results from 2013. We actually did make more improvement, except in quantitative reasoning, and it is a problem in our program that we're now addressing because there are no required courses in the freshman year that have quantitative reasoning on the front burner. We don't have a required math course anymore. We used to. And natural science they take in the sophomore year. So to really see progress, you really need those 4 semesters. And so we're working on trying to get quantitative reasoning into courses that it doesn't normally reside in. And I'm kind of excited about that, but that's another presentation. So now we have, if you just leave quantitative reasoning out of there because it's a kind of anomaly, we have 27 to 32% improvement in each of these areas, sounding pretty good. And let me just say, compared to national averages on standardized tests, looking at the same period, first semester versus fourth semester, the progress that our students show is phenomenal. Because you probably all read or at least heard about Academically Adrift. It came out 2 years ago. And it was looking at thousands of students in 24 different colleges and universities across the U.S. who had taken the CLA, the Collegiate Learning Assessment Test, which is a standardized test, but it's really supposed to be looking at things like critical thinking and perspective taking, which is one of our outcomes, and writing skills, thinking skills. It's not just, how much do you know about Greek mythology? It's not those kind of content type questions. But that test, which was 1,000, or that research, which was involved thousands of students, tended to show only a 7 percentile gain in any of these outcomes areas. And that's why this book caused such outrage, because if people are paying $50,000, $60,000 a year to send their kid to school, and after 2 years the kid's only 7% better in various outcomes, it's disappointing to say the least, if not heartbreaking. And it's not just the Collegiate Learning Assessment Test. There's also the Educational Testing Service Proficiency Profile, the CAAP. These are other major standardized tests that people use nationwide, and they all tend to show about 7, maybe 8% improvement, whereas ours shows 27 to 32% improvement, which certainly is encouraging. And so why? Is this because we are so fantastic at the College of General Studies? Well, I do think we have a really strong, rigorous, integrated, cohesive program. We team teach. There's interactions among the courses, integration among the courses. We spend a lot of time with our students, so I think it does make a difference. But really, this is a workshop about assessment. I think the real star here, in addition to our program, is using ePortfolios for assessment, because you aren't subjecting students to a 1 or 2 shot testing situation, which is artificial to begin with. You aren't subjecting them to a test that somebody else somewhere else wrote that may or may not have anything to do with your program. What are you looking at? You're looking at what they actually did. And that's authentic, and it's nuanced, and it also is a little bit laborious. We now are at the end of our Davis Educational Grant. I only have maybe $8,000 left. I'm going to pay one person to assess our new January freshman program this summer, so that'll be very helpful. But now we have to move into a model of, and as a lot of you will, doing this assessment during the academic year. So now we just have an assessment committee. It will be the major service role for those people who are on it. Okay, everybody has to do some service. Everybody has to do some committee work. We have about 12 members on it now. We're going to keep them there for 2 years. We have done assessment with this new group all through this year. Next year we'll do assessment individually on the committee and then input those scores. So we're now moving to a 2-year assessment model. 1 year, a 2-year committee spends 1 year training, 1 year actually getting data that goes into the FileMaker database. And so we'll have assessment data every 2 years, and we don't need any more grant money to support that. It's just be part of a professor's service expectation. So that's where we are now with this. And just to return where we started with Naomi, this is her capstone project. So again, the capstone is a 50-page group-written research paper that takes on a current contemporary problem and tries to offer a solution to it. So it's not just a report on the problem. You contextualize the problem, and then you pose some kind of solution. So it's very problem-based. And it's very interdisciplinary. You have to bring in material from every course you've taken at CGS. And again, the great thing, as I said at the beginning about the ePortfolio, is that we ask them to post work every week individually, so that we can make sure the individuals are holding up their end of the project. So week 1, she's got bibliography, a general outline. Week 2, week 3, her particular section and her part of the policy recommendation, then the entire capstone project, and then reflections, her own reflections on the capstone project. So this is this is a great thing for us to have to make sure all the students are doing their work, but it's a great thing for her to have as well. It was a good topic, too, containing cholera in Haiti, why it's vital to U.S. interests. It's a very interdisciplinary topic. It was a great paper. So if you're interested in learning more, this rubric that I handed out and a bunch of our ePortfolios that are kind of in a showcase are available at www.bu.edu/cgs/citl ePortfolios and assessment. So, and I am happy to answer questions at any point, including right now, and there are a lot of professors in the program who've been involved in this project who would be happy to address your questions too. So, yes?
I have a question. The format, is that something that you provide them with?
The way we have them set up the ePortfolio, we tell them to set it up that way, but they don't just like download a template. We give them instructions that show them how to set it up that way. And the instructions are hard copy and online.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Yes?
Yeah, what are some other universities use assess other than ePortfolio?
What do they? A lot of people are using standardized tests. As I've told my faculty who don't want to use ePortfolio, and we still have some, what are the alternatives? Do you want to give the students a standardized test? And nobody wants to go down that path. So I said, so what else is there? This, to me, seems the best alternative. You could do paper portfolios, but with 1,000 students, I'd have to get another building just to store the paper. And then who wants to have all that paper, right?
Standardized tests required for any college students?
Not here at BU, but there are programs around the country that do require their students to take these tests as part of the program. And I've actually thought of trying the collegiate learning assessment just to see what their assessment says against ours. But it's a serious investment of money and time. So, yeah.
So I'm from school social work.
Oh, yes.
And I'm the chair of assessment committee, and I'm trying to push this ePortfolio. And what we are dealing with is the laborious
Right.
aspect. And I don't know, I mean, we are already working like this.
Right, I know.
So this squeezing the time from the faculty is going to be very difficult. So last time when I went to one of these kind of meetings, we talked about maybe some faculty actually told me that some other schools, they are using the staffs with the training, giving the training to the staff to do some sort of assessment. And I don't know what you're thinking about that. And what are that's one thing. And the other one is that I know you've done a lot of assessment, the portfolio, a lot of information are going in frequently. We're not going to do that because it's going to be so laborious.
Too much.
But what we can do is a more simplified
Oh, absolutely.
methodology. And what is your ideas about
Right.
making it more simple but doable, but making it an ePortfolio?
Easy. So a couple things. What I would do, I'm sure you have outcomes for social work in different programs of social work, or maybe outcomes for the entire college. So what I would do, and we may even move to this model, is have the students set up their ePortfolio by the outcomes. These are the outcomes of the program, and post 2 artifacts per outcome. Show me where you were at the beginning of your process here with us in terms of critical thinking and perspective. Show me where you were at the beginning with 1, and show me where you think you were at the end. And then you only have 2. They choose. And so have them set it up around the outcomes, post just 2 artifacts per beginning and end, and that would really cut down on the labor seriously. It cuts down on the nuance too, but You know, if they can still have their own showcase portfolio if they want, but this would be a great one for you to have. We've also thought of just having them add to their ePortfolio, in addition to all of those individual courses, which are nice to have as individual sections, just another section that is just outcomes of the program, and then like 2 artifacts posted per outcome. So we may do a hybrid model of what I've just said to you, plus what we already have. And the other thing is, I'm sure you have a service requirement in School of Social Work. People have to serve on committees. This is just, here's the committee you're serving on this year and next year. And then after that, you rotate out and you bring in a new bunch.
So you're talking like 2 years.
Yes.
Like membership. So first year, professors get the training.
Yeah.
And the second year, they're actually
Doing the work.
executing, right?
Yes.
So the first year, can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of training they get involved in, how many of the hours, or
Right.
what?
We meet about 1 hour a month, and we will have agreed to look at, it's usually 2 ePortfolios, just randomly selected, before we get to the meeting. And we'll come in with what we think that student is doing each semester in terms of these various competency levels. And then we'll talk about it. What did you give her for written communication? What did you give her for written communication? And we'll talk about our differences. And you spend a year doing that, and you don't really have many differences by the end. You really start coming together. You norm your results. And there's probably some difference, but not much. So I would just say, set up a committee. People have to serve on committees. An hour a month is not that bad in terms of training over the academic year. The next year, very few meetings, actually. You'd be mostly doing this on your own when you could fit it in. In that sense, it would be a very nice committee that second year, because you could do it whenever you have time. And then you submit your results, maybe half of them in December, half of them in May or something.
So how do students feel about additional work they have to do?
Yeah, they gripe about it some. They do.
They do.
They do some. Some do, some don't. One of the things we've done to sweeten the pot is we have an ePortfolio showcase. So we tell them, keep up a nice ePortfolio, make it jazzy, but also make it comprehensive. Naomi, who I'm showing you here, won the sophomore prize last year. So we give a $100 prize. We have a little showcase presentation in the lobby, and it's a line on their resume, won best ePortfolio of the sophomore class, and they have $100. So it's a little incentive. And then we've asked professors who all got money from this Davis grant. The entire college got money from this Davis grant to first learn how to use ePortfolios, and then 10 to 12 of them to do the assessment. We've asked professors to require students to post the major work from their courses. What I try to emphasize with faculty, because some faculty don't like ePortfolios at all, is I say you don't have to change a thing about your course, not a thing. All you have to do is say on an assignment, please post this when you're done. And let them know that you're going to make sure that they have. You won't get full credit for it if they haven't. And there's a real easy way in Digication, which is the platform we use to check that everyone submitted their assignment. So you could just open up, it's just like one chart with all the students' names down there. Here's your assignment as one column, and it'll just check off as soon as people submit it. So it doesn't have to be much more work at all for faculty. Nobody has to revolutionize their course. If you want to, that's great, But I think faculty, if you tell a group of faculty in any college, here's this tool to totally change what you're doing now, 90% will just run screaming for the door, right? And 10% will hang out and be excited. So this, I think it's very unobtrusive. I think at its best, it really is a very good archive for the students to use and then for us to use. One of the things that always amazes me, up until 5 years ago, we just didn't do any assessment, besides grading students, of course, in our college. So 5 years ago, if you had walked into the College of General Studies and you were from the Department of Education or NEASC, our accrediting agency, or you were a parent and you said, show me the work your students do in your program, for 60 years we would have had to say, sorry, we don't keep our students' work. We don't have any work to show you. That's what we would have had to say. And to me, that's outrageous. How can you be in the business of educating students and then have absolutely nothing to show for what you've done? And that's why the accrediting agencies all across the country are saying, well, that's enough. You can't be charging people these prices and then not show that you do what you say you do. And so now anybody walks into the building, they don't even have to walk into the building. They can email me from Hong Kong and say, what do your students do in your program? And I send them the different links. Well, here's this and here's that, and this is what they do in our program. Yeah, okay.
So what about any confidentiality or embarrassment issues around these? I mean, because you're handing it out to someone in Hong Kong and the kids have graduated.
Oh, I would only hand out. I ask students who have portfolios that I want to share in things like this, and I share them all across the country in conferences. I ask them for permission. But students can designate whether their portfolio is open only to their professors or only to people at BU or just to the World Wide Web. They can designate that, and a lot of them go for www. They want it to be public.
Do you permanently host it? So
yeah, we have a site agreement with Digication. They have that. They can take it with them.
And can they add to it?
Yeah.
In grad school?
Oh, yeah.
They can make this their permanent.
It's all about lifelong learning, right?
So, and then can you, when you are grading during the summer,
Yeah.
do you have that kid's name?
Yes. Yeah.
And
But
you probably know her.
no, in most cases, no, I don't. I mean, that's one of the interesting things is that most of us, when we're assessing any of these students, we're not assessing our own students. I mean, it's a large program. It's 500 to 600 students in any given year, and so in an entire summer, you may never pick up a single portfolio that was one of your own. So, but yeah, the confidentiality thing is interesting. Some professors are really concerned that if students have made their portfolios available to everybody on the internet, and a lot of them do, that will increase plagiarism. And what I say is, what it increases? Our ability to catch plagiarism. Because if a student borrows something from another student's ePortfolio, all you have to do, if you have any kind of sense that they may have done, you just Google a line from it, and bam, the other portfolio pops up, and you've nabbed them. What if a student borrows a paper from his roommate, his frat brother, his sorority sister, his sister's best friend? There's absolutely no way to track that. So I always say to my faculty, do you think students haven't borrowed papers before? They've been borrowing papers since papers were first created. And we just have not been able to catch that level of plagiarism. You can catch if they've, stolen a paragraph off of Wikipedia. You can catch that, but you cannot catch. Or if they hired their tutor to write it for them, you can't catch that. You can catch if they've stolen something off of an ePortfolio. So I say it just makes it easier to catch. And the thing is, you got to get that word out there. You tell your students, if you're going to steal from an ePortfolio, it's really easy to find that. So you dissuade them from trying, hopefully. But the idea is, are we going to shut down the internet? We're not going to shut down the internet. So throwing some more portfolios out there is not going to strongly increase the wealth of materials that they can plagiarize. There's 1 billion sources they can plagiarize from out there. Now there's 500 more, right?
So the review that you do in the summer with the 10 faculty,
Right.
and so that's to look at the full 2-year.
Right. Right.
Okay, and then the one that you do 1 hour per month. That's just in the course of the semester how they're doing. I mean, what does that look like?
Oh, when we do the 1 hour per month, we are still looking at portfolios of students who finished our program. So we are looking at people who have 4 semesters to look at. We're just doing it, first of all, on our own, and then we're bringing back our personal assessments to the committee to make sure we're all kind of in sync. And Deborah, you're in study abroad. So now I really wish I'd pulled up Lily Wand-Wasson's portfolio. While we're talking, I'll see if I can pull up, because she's got a fantastic section on her London experience with reflections. So she's got like 10 different reflections on different aspects of her London experience, and all of them with great visuals. And that's one of the things I love about this, because as we've been sending students to various abroad programs for decades, and what do we get back? What do we have to show for it? Hopefully they come back, hopefully the student returns, that's part of it, but we have nothing to show for it. And now, if they kind of record that, again, you can say, look at the experience these students had, and there are intelligent reflections on it. And let me see if I can bring this down, and I don't know if this thing will let me get on the internet. But other questions, I think I can do this and talk at the same time. So, oh, here we go.
Have you any ePortfolios for like visual arts or anything like that? The assessment, tracking of students.
It's an excellent question. Do you know Digication at all?
No idea.
No, you don't. Because it was created by Jeffrey Yon at RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, and it was created specifically for visual arts students. It's got a wonderful section where you can kind of set up your visual arts showcase, a nice, like, what do they call it, gallery. You can set up a really nice gallery, and with text with it as well. So I think it's really nicely situated.
Are there any
For that.
limitations to the size of files and things like that?
The one limitation we've run into is video. It can't seem to contain anything more than like a maybe 2 to 3 minute video. So what students do, because we do have sometimes students archive video reflections, so we have them posted on YouTube and then just link to it. So you can have the link here. But the video is an issue, and they're working on it. So one of the things I have to say about Digication, I have no stock options in Digication. I don't think you can. So I'm only saying this because it's true. They have been absolutely fantastic in terms of service. If you call them up, I mean, I see Jeffrey Yon at conferences I go to all the time, even though he now has something like 400 university clients across the nation. He's an incredibly busy person. If you call them up, they will get their engineers working on things almost instantly. And within weeks, they'll have changed something for you. They're really, really, customer-oriented.
Because our students, the online portfolio is something that might be interesting. Is there a way that they can still be hosted by Education, but have their own web page that is different from?
Absolutely. I mean, what I would suggest is maybe put it in Digication and then put a link to, if they have their own website, maybe. Is that what you're thinking, that they'd have their own website? That would definitely be possible. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. Sorry. And I shouldn't say that while I'm being filmed, right? Here he is. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was going to call up Lily Wandwasan if I can. Sakai. I can't even get. Oh, here we go. All right, let's see. It's www.digication.com.
So are you paying Digication on an ongoing basis?
Since I don't pay them personally,
Is that
I think it was a license that, we renew it every 5 years. It's BU-wide. It's BU-wide. And, oh, yeah, we have something like 7,000 portfolios at BU. And I think the capacity to do up to 15,000 or something. So we have a license. And I'm sure that's why they're so customer friendly, because it's got, oh, shoot, sorry. Oh, I know you all know my Kerber's passcode. Except that I typed it wrong, so. I'm just going to see if I can show you Lily Wandwasan, and then so you go to ePortfolios. It's a great name too, huh? Lily Wandwasan. She's from Ethiopia.
While you're doing that,
Yeah.
can I ask you about how these are taught? So the teachers grade their work on their portfolios, they're grading papers, or tests or whatever, and then is there a mandatory certain percentage that each teacher must weight?
We don't say a mandatory percentage. What we usually say is almost everybody has like an attendance participation grade, and make it maybe part of that you've posted everything. And that way it doesn't even have to change really your basic grading profile. But there should be some kind of carrot and stick. So for all of us, but for Deborah from, oh yeah, here we go. This is really slow. She has London Reflections. Oh, yeah. So here, under London Reflections, you see this whole table of contents here, and every single one of these here has a nice little narrative, a reflection. Some of these were inspired by specific prompts, and all of them have a nice visual gallery of photos she took. And I think that's a wonderful thing to have, and I think it'll be wonderful for them to have, too. I mean, everybody takes photos and they put them on Facebook, but they don't always keep a journal. But if you can get them to do it, I think they'll all like having that. So. Other questions? So I'm Natalie McKnight, njmck@bu.edu, and you know my Kerberos now too. So no. So it's really nice talking with you, and feel free to contact me at any point. I'm happy to discuss this in greater detail if you're interested. Thank you.